A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Lanka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Maldivian president arrives in the island to begin an official visit. Russian health minister also on an official visit to the country. Special 3-day traffic plan for Colombo. Seabox sends notices to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and ex-minister Piyankara Jayaratne. Permanent High Court trial at bar to hear Greek bond case against ex-Central Bank chief Nivad Cabral. Permanent High Court trial at bar for Eknaligoda disappearance. 157 foreigners arrested for alleged involvement in cybercrimes. 37 Chinese nationals remanded.
And now the stories in detail. President of the Maldives, Mohamed Muisi, arrived in the country this evening for an official visit. This visit comes following an invitation by President Anrukumara Dissanayake.
This is the first visit to Sri Lanka by the Maldivian president since assuming office in 2023. The delegation accompanying the Maldivian president includes the First Lady, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and several senior cabinet ministers. The Maldivian president and the delegation were welcomed at the Kautonak International Airport by the Prime Minister, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. During this visit, the presidents of the two countries are scheduled to hold bilateral discussions regarding the further strengthening of the long-standing friendship and cooperation between Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Several memoranda of understanding are also expected to be signed during the visit, reflecting the mutual commitment of both nations to expand cooperation across several sectors. Meanwhile, a delegation led by Russian Minister of Health Mikhail Murashko arrived in Sri Lanka this morning on a 3-day official visit. They were received at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Kautonak by Minister of Science and Technology Professor Krishanta Besena, Secretary to the Ministry of Health Dr. Anil Chasingha, and Russian Ambassador to Sri Lanka Levan Zagarian. The delegation includes 7 senior officials from the Russian Ministry of Health. During the visit, they are scheduled to hold discussions with Sri Lanka's Minister of Health, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism, Vijitha Herath. The delegation is also scheduled to visit the Colombo National Hospital and the Colombo Medical College. Meanwhile, Vietnamese President Tho Lam is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka on the 7th of May for an official visit. He is expected to address the Parliament of Sri Lanka on the 8th of May. The Vietnamese President will remain in the country until the 9th of May.
Move forward, Sri Lanka.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Minister Piyankara Jayaratne have been issued notices to appear before the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption on the 12th of this month. The summons are in connection with investigations into the purchase of 6 Airbus aircraft for Sri Lankan Airlines in 2014 and 7 additional Airbus aircraft in 2017.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption states that former Sri Lankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena has revealed that 60 million rupees from alleged bribe money linked to the Airbus deal was handed over to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. This was disclosed while presenting facts before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court on the 19th of March. The Commission added that Chandrasena's statements have also revealed that funds were handed over to former Minister of Civil Aviation Piyankara Jayaratne. Former Sri Lankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena, who was arrested in connection with the case, is currently in remand custody.
A special permanent High Court trial at bar has been appointed to hear the case set to be filed against former Central Bank Governor Ajit Cabral over the breach of conditions in the Greek bond transaction. This was constituted by the Chief Justice following a request made by the Bribery Commission.
High Court judges Manoj Thalgodapitiya, Udesh Ranatunga and Buddhika Sriragala have been appointed as its members. Former Central Bank Governor Ajit Cabral has failed to pay the sum of over 1.84 billion rupees, which was due under the settlement terms of the Greek bond case. The Bribery Commission launched an investigation regarding a loss of over 1.84 billion rupees caused to the state by purchasing bonds issued by the Greek government, while being fully aware that Greece was facing a severe economic crisis. Charges were filed against former Central Bank Governor Ajit Cabral, former Deputy Governor Dharmasena Dheerasinghe and Assistant Governors Don Vasantananda Silva and M.A. Karunaratne. On the 10th of December last year, the Colombo High Court ordered the release of former Central Bank Governor Ajit Cabral on a conditional basis, while the other three defendants were released unconditionally. According to the conditions of Cabral's release, the loss of over 1.84 billion rupees incurred from the transaction had to be credited to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka within 3 months. That period expired on the 10th of March this year. It was thereafter that the Bribery Commission requested the Chief Justice to appoint a permanent special trial at bar to hear the case.
Niroshan Paduka says that some attendees left the Samaki Janabalawege May Day rally while leader Sajid Premadasa was delivering his speech, as party organisers instructed supporters who had come from various parts of the country to return to their buses. He made these remarks at a media briefing held today at the Samaki Janabalawege headquarters.
Do you know the single most powerful political party in this country? People came to our meeting from Jaffna, Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa and Monaragala. There were people who left at around 2 a.m. The organisers were then instructing them to get on the buses as early as possible.
Meanwhile, SJP MP Harshana Rajakarna says that supporters left the SJP May Day rally while the party leader was delivering the May Day speech only because it had gotten late in the night.
He made the last speech. It was very late when he made the address. At that point, it would not have been fair to place him in the middle of the lineup. If he had spoken earlier, it would have been unfair to the other speakers. So considering the overall arrangement, he was given the final slot. But by then, it was very late. And that's what happened.
What really happened? This is how supporters acted after the leader of the Samaki Janabalawege commenced his speech this May Day. Members of Parliament from the Lanka Tamil Arusakachi gathered in particular today to condemn the incident where media personnel were reportedly removed from the Samagijana Balavega May Day rally.
We speak about media freedom and media rights in many ways. However, during the May Day events, we saw reports on how several leading media institutions were removed from the venues. I would like to state one thing clearly. The media is a key pillar of democracy. It is not possible to engage in politics while undermining such an institution. If a main opposition party does not even provide an opportunity to obtain commands, it reflects a lack of respect for media freedom. Therefore, we strongly condemn such incidents. Whether it is the government, the opposition or any other party, it is only when journalists are given the freedom to operate that a true platform for public opinion can exist. On this matter, we do not accept wrongdoing by anyone. It is our policy to fully safeguard the freedom of journalists. It is they who have carried information to the public and contributed to many of the country's changes. Even in the most difficult times, they have risked their lives to do so. Whenever those in power have gone astray, journalists have stood up for the people. Therefore, those who claim to represent the public must ensure full freedom for the media. In the past, media institutions like Sirasa, Shakti and Udayan have come under attack. History shows that when such attacks occur and the truth comes to light, the public identifies and rejects those responsible.
The exposition and veneration of the Jayashree Mahabodhi sapling and the sacred relics brought from Sri Lanka to the United States commenced yesterday at the Hangdao Vipassana Meditation Center in Texas, USA. The exposition will take place until May 10th.
At the request of Venerable Panya Karathero of Vietnam, who took part in the Walk for Peace in the Island of Peace, the sacred sapling of the Jayashree Mahabodhi, offered under the patronage of the government of Sri Lanka, along with other sacred relics, was ceremonially escorted in a grand procession to the Huang Dao Vipassana Meditation Center in Texas. The sacred relics being venerated include Sarvanya relics that were discovered at the Nilagiri Mahasaya, currently enshrined at the Madambala Vihara in Hangurankita, as well as the sacred hair relics and several other relics obtained from the Gangarame temple. The ceremony was attended by a delegation from Sri Lanka, including members of the Mahasangha, Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs Dr. Hiniduma Sunil Senavi, and officials from the Department of Archaeology who have travelled to the United States for the occasion.
A permanent trial at bar has been established for the case regarding the disappearance of journalist Prageet Eknaligoda. This was constituted by Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena.
High Court judges Naina Senviratna, Nalin Hevawasam and Lakmali Hevawasam have been appointed as its members. The abduction of Prageet Eknaligoda in question occurred on the night of the 24th of January 2010. It has now been 16 years since this disappearance of Eknaligoda.
Today marks the World Press Freedom Day. This year's theme focuses on mobilizing the world to safeguard media freedom, technology and human rights. The main global conference is being held in Lusaka, Zambia. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed World Press Freedom Day in 1993.
Today is World Press Freedom Day, a day dedicated to the hallowed profession of journalism. The question is, can we even refer to today as Press Freedom Day? When we say press, the immediate symbolic meaning is print media. It is understood that there is wider connotations. However, it's almost as if the thinking on journalism hadn't kept up with the incredible speed at which the sphere itself has changed at. In that sense, the term press should be open for discussion on whether it needs to be updated into a more contemporary form of representation. There is another important issue here. That is the definition of journalist. Internationally, the term journalist refers to a media professional engaged in news reporting, and its Sinhala adaptation reveals challenges in translating the usage of journalism and journalist. Who is a journalist? The word originates from the French term journal, meaning someone who keeps daily records or edits daily reports. With later transformations, it evolved into the concept of journalism as a profession. What are the qualities of a professional journalist? Truth and accuracy, independence, fairness, humanity, accountability. This professionalism is built on these core principles. The media, often referred to as the fourth pillar of democracy, is guided by these fundamental values when operated and defended by professional journalists. Although universities can provide an academic foundation, real journalism must be learnt on the field, inside newsrooms, and under mentorships, especially in this day and age of AI. The attempt to use the term journalist as Janama Divedya in Sinhala has created difficulty in distinguishing professional news reporters. Other supporting roles in the media field are also very important and essential. However, professional news reporting or journalism is a separate, specialized field. Think of it this way. Working in a hospital does not mean a person is a surgeon. In that same way, a professional journalist is not simply someone working in a media organization. Therefore, for the sake of sustaining democracy, it is very important to recognize the professionalism and seriousness required to develop modern-day journalists. A professional journalist must make countless sacrifices. It is not just a job. It is a profession that gives voice to the voiceless people of the world and all living beings. It carries not only human compassion, but also a deep responsibility toward all life. From our country's perspective, there are many examples. Over the past decades, many media professionals have sacrificed their lives due to immense humanitarian commitment, faced attacks and threats, and many have been forced to leave the country due to death threats. Lasantha Vikramatunga was killed on a public road, not because of any personal agenda or struggle. He was exposing major corruption in the country. Even hours before his death, an injunction was being sought by a top official at the time to silence his pen and cover up massive corruption. The disappearance of Prageet Teknaligoda is also linked to his work as a journalist. Attacks on Sirasa, setting fire to theatre, 2 attacks on Udayan newspapers, and the attack on Lanka e-news are only a few examples. These are some of the incidents of the attacks and killings in chronological order. Mile Vaganam Nimalarajan, murder, October 19th, 2000. Rushangan Kodiswaran, assault, August 8th, 2002. Ayature G. Nadeshan, murder, May 1st, 2004. Kandasamy Iyer, murder, August 16th, 2004. Dharmaratnam Sivaram, murder, April 28th, 2005. Relangi Selvaraja, murder, August 12th, 2005. Sudar Oli newspaper office, bomb attack, August 29th, 2005. Subramaniam Sugirdarajan, murder, January 24th, 2006. Sampath Lakmal De Silva, murder, July 1st, 2006. Subramaniam Ramachandran, abduction, February 15th, 2007. Subhash Chandra Bose, murder, April 16th, 2007. Selvarasa Rajiv Varman, murder, April 29th, 2007. Sahadevan Nilakshan. Murder, August 1st, 2007. T.M.G. Chandrasekhara. Assault, December 27th, 2007. Lal Hemantha Mavalage. Assault, January 25th, 2008. Keith Noah. Abduction and assault, May 22nd, 2008. Parani Rupasingham Devakumar. Murder, May 28th, 2008. Namal Pereira. Assault, June 30th, 2008. Radhika Devakumar. Assault, September 8th, 2008. Depanama Studio Complex. Destruction, January 6th, 2009. Lasantha Vikramatunga. Murder, January 8th, 2009. Upali Thennakoon. Assault, January 23rd, 2009. N. Vidyadharan. Abduction and assault, February 26th, 2009. Poddala Jayantha. Abduction and assault, June 1st, 2009. Prageet Eknaligoda. Disappearance, January 24th, 2010. Theatre Organization. Attack, July 30th, 2010. Lanka E-News Organization. Arson attack, February 1st, 2011. Jnanasundaram Kuganathan. Assault, July 29th, 2011. Udayan Newspaper Office. Arson and attack, May 2nd, 2006 and April 13th, 2013. Mandana Ismail. Threats, August 23rd, 2013. These are only a few. Many leaders of the free media movement, including Sunanda Deshapriya, who spoke against killings and unlawful governance, were forced to flee the country to save their lives. This state of terror later extended to interrogations by the Criminal Investigation Department, arrests and other forms of formal intimidation. Today, when we recognize the value of media freedom, we do so because of the immense sacrifices made by professional journalists in the face of such dark and fear-filled eras for the sake of a democratic society. Therefore, as we mark World Press Freedom Day this year, it is important to emphasize that producing professional journalists who can face new challenges is essential for the future of a healthy, democratic society. The public also has a responsibility. That is to examine whether the news and information that they receive are produced by professional journalists who uphold professional standards. This is a civic duty. Only when both the reporter and the audience are intellectually aware and responsible can democracy be strengthened. As expressed in this famous idea linked to French philosopher Voltaire and later articulated by writer Evelyn Beatrice Hall, quote, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it," unquote. English writer Evelyn Beatrice Hall, 1906. This is the principle of our journalism.
Newsfirst with the people.
Also in local news, 157 foreign nationals were arrested today in two separate locations in connection with cybercrimes. 120 out of the arrested individuals were taken into police custody during a raid in Madhavalikata Road, Rajgiriya. Additionally, another 37 Chinese nationals that is arrested in Talangama have been remanded until the 8th of May.
Among the 120 foreign nationals arrested in Madhavalikata Road, Rajgiriya, are individuals from 9 countries, including China, Malaysia, Thailand and Vietnam. The group was taken into custody along with numerous computers and mobile phones on suspicion of illegal financial scams and unlawful activities. Police stated that the suspects had carried out this fraudulent business by renting several floors of a local apartment building. Meanwhile, the 37 Chinese nationals arrested by the Walana Anti-Corruption Unit during a raid in Thalangama on suspicion of involvement in cybercrimes have been remanded until the 8th of May. This was after the suspects were produced before the Kaduela Magistrates Court.
President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake was honoured today with the Kamban Pugal Award. The award was presented during the final day of the Kamban Festival 2026, organised by the All Ceylon Kamban Kalagam.
The Kamban Festival 2026, organised by the All Ceylon Kamban Kalagam, was held over 4 days at the Ramakrishna Mission Hall in Vellavatta, Colombo, under the patronage of its president, J. Vishwanathan. On the final day of the festival today, President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake was honoured with the Kamban Pugal Award. The award was presented in recognition of the President's efforts to unite a nation that had been divided along ethnic lines. President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake was honoured by Kamban Kalagam President J. Vishwanathan, former Tamil Nadu BJP State President Kuppusamy Annamalai, and former Malaysian Minister M. Saravanan. The award was presented by the VTV Foundation with Ganesh Devanayagam Pillai and Murugesu Devanayagam Pillai formally presenting the award to the President.
The Department of Meteorology says thunder showers accompanied with severe lightning are likely to occur at some places in north-central, Sabarkamur and eastern provinces and in Badulla, Colombo, Kaluthara, Gaul and Mathura districts. Temporary localized strong winds may occur during thunder showers. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity.
A house in Kokwata, Habaraduwa in the Gaul district has been struck by lightning. Police say the incident occurred around 12:30 a.m. this morning. At the time, 2 young women employed at the Kogala investment zone were staying in the house and were struck by the lightning. One of them, a 26-year-old resident of Urubokka in Mathura, has died as a result of the incident. The other injured 25-year-old woman has been admitted to the Karapiti Teaching Hospital for treatment.
Moving on to news overseas, US President Donald Trump says that he is reviewing Iran's 14-point proposal to end his war on the country while warning that Washington could restart airstrikes if Tehran misbehaves.
Speaking to reporters in Florida before boarding Air Force One yesterday, US President Donald Trump confirmed that he had been briefed on the concept of the deal.
They want to make a deal, they're decimated, they're having a hard time figuring out who their leader is. They don't know who their leader is because their leader is gone, their former leader came in, but we'll see.
President, last night you said we might be better off not making a deal with Iran.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that. I said that if we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years. They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now, yeah.
Despite the diplomatic opening, the US president struck a characteristically blunt tone regarding the possibility of renewed hostilities which have been paused since the announcement of a ceasefire between the sides on the 7th of April. Trump said when asked if strikes would resume, quote-unquote, if they do something bad, there is a possibility it could happen.
Under what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Trump added that the US was doing very well and claimed that Iran was desperate for a settlement because the country had been decimated by months of conflict and a naval blockade. Meanwhile, according to the Iran's Tasnim news agency, the 14-point plan was formulated in response to a 9-point plan by the US. It says the US requested a 2-month ceasefire, but the Iranians want to focus on ending the war instead of ending the truce. It says Iran wants all issues to be resolved within 30 days. The proposal calls for guarantees against future attacks, a withdrawal of US forces from around Iran, the release of frozen Iranian assets and the lifting of sanctions, war reparations, ending all hostilities including in Lebanon, and a new mechanism for the Strait of Hormuz. The US-based Axios news outlet reported that the Iranian proposal set a one-month deadline for negotiations on a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz in the US naval blockade and permanently end the war in Iran and Lebanon. It cited two sources as saying that once a deal is reached, another month of negotiations would be launched to try and reach a deal on the nuclear program. The US State Department has authorized $0.6 billion in military hardware and support services. The deal covers Israel, Kuwait, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, according to statements published on the State Department's website. Qatar is set to receive Patriot air and missile defense replenishment services and equipment worth $4.01 billion, while Kuwait has been cleared for a $2.5 billion integrated battle command system. A convoy of 70 Iraqi crude oil tankers has passed through the Al Arabiya border crossing into Syria, marking the first such shipment via the route in 14 years. According to Syria's Sana news agency, the convoy is bound for the Banias refinery on Syria's Mediterranean coast. 7 members of OPEC Plus will meet today to decide on the oil production levels for the first time since the UAE left the group. The UAE, a major global oil producer, officially left OPEC and the larger OPEC Plus group on Friday. According to analysts, it decided to quit on the 28th of April because it was unhappy with the limits the group placed on how much oil it could produce. The 7 countries are expected to raise their daily production by 188,000 barrels, according to traders. The intelligence unit of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says, quote-unquote, the room for US decision-making has narrowed. The agency said Tehran has set a deadline for the US military to end its blockade of Iranian ports without specifying it. And there is a shift in tone against Washington from China, Russia and Europe. It said in a post on X, quote, there is only one way to read this. Trump must choose between an impossible military operation or a bad deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The room for US decision-making has narrowed, end quote. However, former IRGC commander and secretary of Tehran's Expeditionary Council compares the US forces blockading the Strait of Hormuz to pirates and threatens to turn the waterway into a graveyard of US aircraft carriers and troops. He said in a statement on X, quote, the US is the only pirate in the world that possesses aircraft carriers. Our ability to confront pirates is no less than our ability to sink warships, end quote. He added, referring to last month's downing of an F-15E plane, quote, prepare to face a graveyard of your carriers and forces, just as the wreckage of your aircraft was left behind in Isfahan, end quote.
Cultus Workforce Development Service has launched a nationwide initiative to upskill university students in Sri Lanka.
Cultus Workforce Development Services Private Limited has launched a nationwide initiative titled Upskilling Sri Lanka with AWS Academy and Educate platforms, aimed at equipping university students with future-ready digital skills. The program, implemented in collaboration with Amazon Web Services, provides students with free access to globally recognized online courses through AWS Academy and AWS Educate. The initiative supports the broader goal of advancing Sri Lanka's digital economy under the Digital Sri Lanka 2030 vision. A press briefing on the program was held in Colombo with relevant stakeholders on this mission, highlighting the importance of industry-aligned training to prepare the next generation workforce.
What if I told you, even today, in these times, there are more jobs than job seekers in the world? You may think I'm a lunatic, but it's true. You look at any research report, there are more jobs in the world than job seekers. It's just that you don't know where to look. What we do is, whether it is young people, whether it is blue collar, grey collar, white collar, whether it is middle-aged people, whether it's unemployed youth, even being a for-profit company, what we do is we take people, skill them in what the industry wants, and place them into roles so that they get the outcome they desire. That's what we do in a nutshell.
Moving on to sports news now, Sri Lanka secured 2 medals today at the 2026 Asian Throwing Championships.
The 2026 Asian Throwing Championships are currently being held in South Korea. Nadisha Dilhani Lekhamge participated in the women's javelin throw event. She secured the silver medal with a performance of 56.79 meters. Meanwhile, Sumedha Ranasinghe managed to win the silver medal in the men's event. His performance in the event was recorded at 76.95 meters.
New Zealand's under 85 kilogram rugby team defeated Sri Lanka 25-10 in the second match between the two sides at the match held today in Nitawela, Kandy.
New Zealand's under 85 rugby team scored 3 tries, 2 conversions and 2 penalties at the match held today in Nitawela. Sri Lanka responded with 1 try, 1 conversion and 1 penalty. Accordingly, New Zealand's under 85 side secured the series 2-0.
The Sri Lanka women's cricket team arrived in the island after successfully completing their tour of Bangladesh.
The Sri Lanka women's cricket team arrived in the island today after successfully completing their tour of Bangladesh. The tour included both an ODI and T20I series. The Sri Lankan players won the ODI series 2-1, while also managing to clinch the T20 International Series with a clean sweep of 3-0.
We finished a very good series. A lot of young players performed exceptionally well and the senior players performed great as well. I received excellent support. This was our final international series before the World Cup. I'm very satisfied with the performance we displayed. But we still have many shortcomings to address. We need to work on those, especially power hitting. We also need to improve our fielding significantly before the World Cup.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.